This is Toni Preckwinkle, President of the Cook County Board of Commissioners. This is Talk with Toni. And my guest today is Matt DeLeon, who's Secretary to the Board. First of all, what is the Secretary, and how did you get this job?
So thank you for having me, Madam President. I appreciate it. The Secretary to the Board's office provides legislative support for both the President and the members of the Board of Commissioners, for both the County Board of Commissioners and the Forest Preserve Board of Commissioners. We provide legislative efforts in terms of the agendas, the notices, the minutes, all the logistics, and then we provide some back office support also for the members of the board.
So you make the board meetings work, basically.
We do everything we can to make sure no one notices us at all. In fact, the thing I like to tell our staff is we want to be referees at the Super Bowl. You don't want to notice us. You don't want to see us come into play.
A sports analogy, oddly enough.
Absolutely. It's just one of those things where we want to do everything we can to be completely in the background. If no one notices us, we've done our job.
All right. So how did you come to serve as Secretary of the Board?
So I've a little bit of history is that I've been coming to this building, one side or the other of it, for about 27 years now.
Okay.
I started at the mayor's office in the correspondence unit, answering letters that were coming in for the mayor, and then transferred over to the county in 1993 and became a part of the chief administrative officer's office, and was there for 13 years under two different chief administrative officers.
This is the Bureau of Administration, or?
Yes, in the Bureau of Administration. So Albert Pritchett was the first chief administrative officer I worked with, and then James Eldridge was the second. And so I came in under your predecessor, Richard Phelan, and have served under him, John Stroger, Bobby Steele, Todd Stroger, and then yourself. And so for the last 14 years, I've been Secretary to the Board, and have been very happy to work with all the various members, both presidents that I've worked with, and it's been quite a journey to watch everything.
So you started out basically in city government and then moved to the county, but you've been in government for almost 30 years.
Almost 30 years, yes.
Okay, pretty impressive, pretty impressive. Now you're also our historian, is that right, the county historian?
So I was fortunate enough to be appointed by resolution in 2019 to the role of county historian. It's probably something we sort of fell into a little bit. We got a call one day from the warehouse saying we have these file cabinets and boxes and we're looking to clear them out of here. We're not sure if anything needs to be kept or thrown away. Can you come and take a look at these things? So our staff actually went out to the warehouse and went through some of these boxes, and it was pretty clear that the material that was there, and it was all from President Dan Ryan, from Clayton Smith, it had gone back to George Dunn. There was material there that really needed to be preserved in some way. And so one of the roles that we saw for our office as sort of a sideline for a long time was trying to figure out a way to keep these documents, preserve them as much as possible, and to promote them, because we think that folks need to actually see how county government has developed and grown over the years, and all the different roles that it's played. As a result of all of those efforts, which were really more informal, that was where we thought having the formal role of historian would sort of tell folks this is something that is a priority for the county, preserving our history, preserving our heritage. And then, we're very happy that this past November, we were able to actually secure some funding for the County Historic Archives Records Office that is part of the budget from 2020.
So this all started when somebody was going through the warehouse and found boxes of files they couldn't figure out what to do with.
Correct, and they were assigned to the Secretary to the Board office, and in fact, the old system around here was 4 people ran the entire government: the President of the Board, the Chief Administrative Officer, the Secretary to the Board, and the Comptroller. This goes back to maybe the Dunn days, the Richard Ogilvie days. And so there were a myriad of documents in that collection, not just agendas and minutes, but there were speeches of presidents, there were photographs, there were organization charts of the 1940s and 50s. I mean, many things that there's no way that anyone who was looking at them could say we can just go ahead and toss all this stuff. We realize that it's not a normal function of a of an employee to hang on to documents. That it's not part of their day to day. In fact, I think most employees or department heads, if they were to inherit a collection of documents that doesn't relate to their day to day, they might put them in a box, they might put them on a shelf. What we're hoping to do is actually organize those things that need to be kept, provide access to them for researchers, for the public, for elected officials, anyone who needs to actually to examine the history of the county and connect it really to the present mission. Those are things that we're hoping we can accomplish.
Are you personally interested in history, or is this kind of something that fell into your lap?
Well, I mean, I feel like I'm into it, in terms of history. Certainly, I can't say I've done anything formally. It's the old Seinfeld term. I'm not a buff of any kind. I haven't really.
No history buff, huh?
Not a history buff, but I think certainly in terms of the county history, I think it's working here. One of the things about working at the county is you get a real sense that we deal with folks. The government that we have deals with folks when they're at a point where they really need help. If somebody is being sued or is suing someone, they go to the county. If somebody doesn't have an attorney that they can defend themselves with, they come to the county. If they need help as a victim, they come to the county. If they die without a known cause, they come to the county. The health system, paying their taxes, all these things are unfun kind of activities that people have to engage in as a part of life, and it's our government that's actually there for them. So I really believe in that, and in that as a role for us to play, and I think it's something that a lot of folks really need to gain a better understanding of, not just people on the outside, but also our employees. And so hopefully that's something that we can actually communicate to people.
Right. Well, our core functions are, running the hospital system, running the criminal justice system, births, deaths, marriages, in the clerk's office. So they're kind of central to government services.
And we don't have any of the fun government things. We don't run stadiums. We don't run airports. We don't have an educational system run by the county government as it is in other parts of the country. We have, some real guts sort of work that has to be done that not a lot of governments would step up and do. And in fact, the course of history, many of those functions were turned over to the county. At one point, the county was the criminal justice system was somewhat spread out amongst the different jurisdictions. Different jurisdictions had jails, different jurisdictions had their own courts, and a lot of that was consolidated within the county. Of course, the provision of health care for those who, regardless of ability to pay, was something that was basically put on the county very early. One of the buildings at this location, and of course the county has always been at Clark and Randolph. That's one of the things that maybe people don't know about that much, is that whenever there's been a county, it's always been at Clark and Randolph. The other building that was built right behind Clark and Randolph, though, was an almshouse. And so that was the very first effort at a
poorhouse,
but also to provide health care for individuals within the county. The other building was the jail, but we don't have to talk about that.
a poorhouse and a jail,
yeah.
huh?
And so that was the function of supporting folks throughout and supporting the population has always been the county's mission. And it's something that I think a lot of people should get to know more about.
I appreciate that. Help me out. We're in the process of trying to design a new flag. What's the story there?
So we're really excited about that. We've actually been to before the virus hit and the stay-at-home measures went into place. We had visited a number of high schools. We went out to Kenwood. We went out to Evanston, which of course
is in my neighborhood. That's why you're mentioning it.
Kenwood's in your neighborhood, and Evanston's my alma mater. So they're the top two. We also went to Clemente, and we were scheduled to go to Chicago Agricultural and a few other schools, Riverside Brookfield, before everything happened. But what we did was we put out a contest for high school students to redesign the Cook County flag. The current county flag goes back to 1961. It was not a particularly inspired design. They basically took the seal of the county and replicated it on the flag and put the words Cook County on it. which is standard operating procedure for a lot of flags. But I think one of the things that has developed over time is an appreciation for how a flag can do a lot to represent the history, the geography, the people of a jurisdiction or of a region, and also the mission of that particular government. The best example, one of the best examples is our local example, is the City of Chicago flag. A very simple design, stripes, stars, but each star has its own meaning. Each stripe has its own meaning. The white stripes represent the northwest and south sides. The blue stripes represent the lake and the river. And then the red stripes, of course, are Fort Dearborn, the World's Columbian Exposition, the Chicago Fire, and the Century of Progress. So there's, and then each of those points on the 6 points on the star has their own meaning as well. So we're hoping that, and we're seeing in some of those designs that have been turned in so far, we're hoping that the students will take the concepts of mission, geography, history, and people, and translate those with symbols and colors into a flag that will really represent the county going forward as we approach our bicentennial, which is going to be in 2031. We have our 190th anniversary next year, and we're hoping that's when we can raise the brand new flag over Daley Plaza, which didn't exist the last time there was a flag.
Right.
But then after we, for that 10-year period after that we can ramp up and have a proper celebration of the county's role over a 200-year period in this region.
So help me out. How is our flag contest going in light of the fact that there's so much e-learning going on and the schools are closed?
So we've done as much as we could to try and promote the activity as not only a stay-at-home activity that parents could engage with, but we also did reach out to about 500 different schools that we followed up with 500 different schools that we sent the initial packet of information to when we started the contest. We followed up with them and said, if you would like to, we think that this would be a solid, end of the year activity that your students might be able to engage in. And we actually did have a conversation with a school, and online, of course, over. I think it was almost like a Zoom conversation or a Teams conversation with a group of developmentally disabled kids who actually were working on the designs as well at the behest of their teachers. So we're hoping that as we get towards the end of the school year, rapidly, that's something that teachers could take into consideration as a potential assignment for some of their students to get them to focus on the concepts, or for any students who are at home who have an inclination either to history or to graphic design, to go ahead and put in as many submittals as they like. We'd love to see them all come in. There's a website that we have, which is #flag2021, and it's cookcountyil.gov/flag2021. Those are the easiest ways to get an understanding of what the contest is about and how to enter, and how to submit your designs.
All right, so the contest is still underway.
The contest is still underway, and in fact, there is an inclination to even extend the deadline. We originally had a deadline of April 15th, which was then changed to May 31st. We're hoping now that the deadline can be extended into the fall, and actually that would still allow us enough time, because we did bake in some time for the board to consider its finalists.
Review the submissions
and to review the submissions, and actually one of the ideas is to have graphics design professionals volunteer to mentor some of the semifinalists on their submitted designs, so that those could then be considered and made into finalists for the board to consider.
Yeah. All right, you've been in your job for more than a decade. What are the changes that you've seen over time?
Well, one of the first things that I saw when I came in was this very large machine that was used to take meeting notices and trifold them so that we could then stuff them into envelopes and lick stamps and
mail them out.
Which was that was one of the main things that would happen, and our office was forced to stop what they were doing for however long it took to get all of those various notices out. We've switched over to a document management system, which is now providing all of that information online. And we have a distribution list that we've switched to, which really made that task
Email
a lot
list.
easier. We also, of course, during your time here, we've started to live stream all of the county's meetings as an effort at significant transparency for the board and for the county. The meetings prior to 2011 were not live streamed. Of the committee meetings were not live streamed, and that was a change that was made under your administration, and we were very happy for that. And the other change that I think was probably the biggest thing was providing an online way for people to provide public comment, so that if an individual couldn't make it down to the boardroom, they didn't feel like their voice couldn't be heard. And so those are probably the three biggest things we've seen change.
Okay, so email, online communication, and a way to submit testimony without having to appear in person.
All trying to take advantage as much as possible of technology that was probably already there, but wasn't really activated until we all came along.
So at the last board meeting, I think there were 150 people who made, that was close. Submissions, is that right? What was it?
It was about it was 100. I think it was 160.
Oh, okay.
We had 160 individuals who provided comment online, either through our online. They either clicked the link and provided comment on one of our websites, or they actually provided email comment. So that was that doesn't though rival the one time we were in a finance committee meeting, a finance public hearing, and we had probably, I want to say, 126 people show up in person. Well, 1,500 people showed up at this at the Markham Courthouse, but 126 signed up to actually speak. And I think some of the staff is here. I think we may have gotten out of there at about 1 or 2 in the morning, probably.
Do I want to know when this was, Matt?
This was before you were there.
Oh, okay. Seriously, I don't recall this. Is that my bad memory, or is this, it happened before I got here?
No, this was a while ago, and it was that was one of the more challenging times, probably, as in terms of making sure that people could get their voice heard, especially because many of the people who wanted to speak were our own employees.
Right.
So.
Well, listen, thank you for your service for the last 14 years. We're grateful you agreed to be our guest today.
Thank you, Madam President.
And thank you for joining us for Talk with Toni.